Hey, and welcome back to the number one podcast in the world, Cellarcast, episode 91. I'm probably a little late on getting this out, and that's because, God, I didn't want to do anything. I had a big weekend. This past weekend. It's a weird, awkward way of phrasing it, but yeah. I didn't have any comments, so I just kind of wanted to jump straight into it because it was Slashback. We had I've been talking about. I've mentioned it here and there, in the over past episodes. I think over the last couple months, I've had tickets for a while. Slashback, the first installment of a major tournament in the NorCal-ish region. It was in San Jose. It's like kind of right in the middle. They were trying to just make it like a West Coast thing, like a West Coast event. Just kind of like San Jose's kind of right in the middle. I gotta look at a map again, actually. California map. Yeah, it's like right in the. It's like at the bottom. Like a little south of the peninsula. Yeah, it's like yeah. I guess we could make it out there, kind of thing. What should I talk about first? A few things. So number one, I guess I could just talk about my experience. I could talk about my experience before we even got there. So I went with Kat and I was like, hey, there's a fighting game thing. Maybe making a cat to come. Like, that would be really fun to, like, share my hobby with her. So we both had tickets. She just got the much cheaper spectator ticket. And I figured that because of where she lives in relation to where I live, it would just be much easier if she stayed over at my house. And then we would both just go to the event together. Just to make everyone's lives easier. So, a girl was in my room for the very first time ever. When I think about the population, like the history of this house, probably the first time a girl has been in this room, period. It's really just my family that's lived here. So, she came over. It was really fun. It was really fun to have her over. We tried to watch a movie. I'll get to that later. Tried to watch some movies, and turns out that my monitor's speakers are really quiet. So, that was a bit of a hurdle to overcome. So, I kind of goofed, right? I signed up for Plus R and Strive. Those are the two main games. I kind of wished that I'd gone for Exile too, because one of the conclusions I came to after this tournament was, damn, I really want to go play some Exile. But the rollback update, the rollback release date, I should say, had not been announced yet. So we knew that the update was coming, but the release date hadn't come yet, and I wanted to kind of practice in preparation for this. I was like, okay, I'll do the games that I actually have some more experience in, and that I can actually devote some practice time to online. So, just Plus R and Strive. And the way I read the schedule initially was, oh, okay, I got my first pool starts at 9 a.m. Oh, geez, it's kind of early, but we were kind of looking. I assumed we were going to wake up early anyway. And then the second one is going to be at a little late, like noon. It's going to be at noon. I'm like, all right, cool. So I had the plan I had was that my dad was going to drive us, because again, cannot drive yet. He was going to drive us because the train schedule didn't work out. They really take it easy on the Caltrain on the weekends. Did you know that? They take it real easy. There was no way I was going to get there in time for my pools. Turns out, oh no, wait, I totally misread it. Strive, my first pool is actually at noon. Sorry, at 1 p.m. It's at 1 p.m. And my second pool for Strive is at 9 p.m. I had fucking 9 p.m. pools. I was like, oh, shit. That sucks. So I go down and talk to my dad, tell him about the schedule. He goes, does the train... Are you going to be able to catch the train? So I check. The last train out of San Jose leaves 8:45 on Saturday. I was like, ugh, huh. So my dad was like, guess I have to make 2 fucking trips then. I'm like, oh no, he's in a bad mood now. Apparently he told me later. It's like, nothing's, oh my god. Okay, let me go so okay, it's time. So we get ready. We go downstairs to the garage. And my dad, we all get into the car. My dad starts the car up, and he gets a little notification on the car's dashboard. It says low tire pressure. He's like, low tire pressure. He gets out. We just have a flat tire, a completely flat tire. And it had to have happened the day before. So just something hit the tire, hit the wheel. There's just a slow puncture overnight, or a slow release overnight, and then now it's just flat. So he has to replace the whole thing. So we have to call him, and he just everything just fucking going wrong today. So we ended up having to call my uncle, who was who was thankfully free and was able to actually drive us all the way to San Jose. Very nice of him. And I told him in the car, I'm like, yeah, I'm actually kind of related. I think Dad's in a bad mood today. I asked my dad about it later, because my dad gets in a bad mood and you just can't talk to him for a while. Not even about anything. Just don't fucking talk to him for a while, because he's just going to be in a bad mood. So you just kind of gotta hunker down and wait it out. Wait out the storm. And then if he says anything really mean to you during that time, he'll apologize the next day. That's the pattern. That's how he works. So, once we got back from the whole thing on Sunday, like, I was like, hey, was everything all right Saturday morning? It's like, hey, thanks. Because he ended up driving us back home Saturday night. And he was like, I woke up. I spilled my coffee grounds on the floor. I went downstairs to watch my Formula One. Turns out that it's on ESPN News, which we don't even get. I don't know. I was just in a bad mood. And then I had to drive you, and I don't like driving it. I don't like making a late night drive. I don't like having to pick you up at 9:30 p.m. And then we got a flat tire. I don't know. It's like, all right, yeah, fair enough. So we make it there, and I thought the venue was going to be bigger. I was looking at pictures, and I guess I misjudged the size of the venue itself. Not small by any means. Like good for maybe I'd call it like a mid-sized event. I actually don't know. Definitely not a small event, I would say. There was a couple, 100 people there, going in and out throughout the day. There was a decent number of setups. That was kind of one of the issues. I was actually talking to someone. They said that, they don't have the limitations on space meant that they had to kind of balance. Okay, how much walking and being a human being space do we have versus space for setups? And they're just, unfortunately, maybe I ran into some situations where it was every setup was taken. I was like, I walk around, and this is my next thing. There were points at both days where I was kind of regretting inviting Kat. And I know she's listening to this. I'm sorry, baby. We already talked about it. But it was clear that like she was really bored and tired like midday. And I'm like, I really like, I want to go play fighting games with people, but I also don't want to just leave my girlfriend to sit here and be bored out of her mind. And she was like, no, it's fine. I'm like, nah, I feel really bad. And she's like, no, it's fine. It's, you know, that feeling. And then kind of a funny thing happened where as both days went on, she got more she ended up she had like the same emotional arc both days. She was really bored at first, and then once the tournament itself started getting a little deeper into like the finals, top eight space basically, she got way more interested. Even not really knowing many of the games, right? Like, not really. And she actively told me, I was trying to, like, explain things to her. I'm like, okay, this character does this and this, and this character does this. And I'm trying to explain a little, like, okay, here's this thing that they're doing, and this is why. And she would go, just stop trying to explain it to me. And I'm like, oh, really? And she goes, yeah. And I was like, I thought you would enjoy it more. And she said, well, number one, I don't think I can intake much more info. I don't think I can handle intaking a lot of information right now. And number two, it's more fun. She says it's more fun if I just make it up in my head, which I was not expecting. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say I like watching games where I don't understand what's going on because I can just make up what's happening in my head. But no, it's like we watched Plus R top 8, and it was really cool. There was like oh god, who is I'm so bad at remembering names and peoples and all that. One of them, it wasn't Wukash was in top 8, but it wasn't them. It was Pat? Do I want to say Pat something? A Testament player in the finals versus someone called Digital Watches. And Digital Watches is an Exile player who, I don't know, there was a really interesting progression throughout that finals set. I think there was a reset, if I'm remembering it correctly, where Watches was, for some reason, switched to Jam, which I don't know if, like, Jam is a better matchup for Testament than Exile. I wouldn't know, but they switched to Jam, and kind of got, like, in the nicest possible way, kind of got beat down the first two games. They were on match point, and then there was this moment where they were hovering on, like, character select, and they went back to Exile, and just fucking popped off. Like, they just had a great, really intense series of matches against this Testament player. It was really cool to watch. She was actually getting invested into it. Like, oh, she was seeing even just, not really understanding how either of the characters worked or all the crazy bullshit Testament has that make them so stressful to fight against. You could just see the natural, like, push and pull of the set as it was going on. And that was really cool, actually, to, like, see her getting into it. Same thing for Exile. Exile top 8 was great. Exile top 8 was great, dude. Absolutely check it out. Check out the fucking finals. Daymendo versus the Arm. Daymendo, Slayer player, longtime Slayer player. Excuse me. Versus the Arm, who I wasn't as familiar with, but is a Ramlethal, but really good Ramlethal. And dude, that set was so. I was watching the Exert finals, and I was already, like, rooting for Daymendo because he's a Slayer player, and of course I am. And it's cool to see, like, a high level Slayer, just make it far in anything, because for as popular as Slayer is, you don't see him winning a lot of big tournaments. I don't know, he's just one of those characters. Slayer is kind of like designed in this way where unless he's just objectively super broken and busted, he's usually kind of mid-tier. Like, that's just sort of how his design kind of tends to be. Like, he's sort of designed with these inherent weaknesses to balance out his inherent strengths, and he just sort of ends up being like a mid-tier character in most appearances. So it was really cool, and it's just great to see great Slayer play from Daemendo. And I was so he was going super hard. I think he got knocked into losers by the arm earlier in the tournament, and they ended up meeting again in finals, which was a great story. I think the arm knocked him into losers. I think that's how it went. Because I vaguely remember, wait, didn't they play each other? Like, I remembered seeing an earlier match of them, and I'm like, that was the same Ram player, right? Pretty sure it was the same color and everything. So when he got sent to losers, Daemendo he fucking wanted it so bad. It was ridiculous to watch the losers bracket, because Daemendo just fucking, he had like 4 2-0 wins in a row, just 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, to just smashing through the whole bracket on the way to the finals. He had people's fucking numbers. There was a great match where he was playing Hotashi. Hotashi, obviously on Elfelt. Very stressful character to play against. Also, it's Hotashi. Very stressful person to play against. Man, I remember watching Daemendo set from a little while ago. I forget what tournament it was. It was him versus another Elfelt. And you could see the adjustment. You could see the adjustment in his play there, and how he I'm pretty sure he won in the end. Or no, did he lose in the end? Fuck, it's been a while since I saw that set. I'm so bad at recalling little details like that, like who exactly was playing and when and where and stuff like that. But I remember seeing this set, and it was really because it reminded me of like when he was playing Hotashi. It reminded me of that. Because, like, oh, you're seeing Elfelt do Elfelt things. You're like, oh, shit. And he kind of starts to, like, figure it out and figure out the player matchup, I guess you could say. Like, obviously, I mean, Dave's, like, one of those people who's pretty much stuck with Exile for even after Strives come out. And it's cool to watch all the people who've stuck with Exile playing the game and, like, showing off how much more that they've learned in the years since. That stuff is, that like level of play is really cool. It's great when a game has enough staying power to be able to show off like a level of mastery like that. So like he figures out the match. It was so funny. There was a moment, I don't know if it was when Hotashi lost the set or when he was down by 1. But they just cut to like the player cam on the stream. They got a big old screen up in the venue, and Hotashi just has this really slow, kind of subtle. He just shakes his head. He's like, "Fuck, God, fuck, oh my fuck!" He looked so exasperated. It was great. I was like, I think Kat and I both laughed at like, "Oh my God, he's going through it right now." Yeah, and you know that feel. You're like, God damn it. You know that feeling. Fucking excellent. Go straight up. Just go watch that set. I might even link it if they put it up. Hold up. Let me see if I can just find it. It's a great VOD, or it will be. Daemendo versus the Arm. Not seeing it, unfortunately. It really should be. It deserves to be uploaded. Like, goddamn. It almost feels kind of special. Hold up. Slashback. Daemendo. Yeah, not seeing anything right now on YouTube, unfortunately. It's kind of cool because it's sort of like, oh, it's this thing that that only I saw. I'm only on privy to. When that gets uploaded, like, absolutely, if someone could shoot me the link so I can, like, retweet it or shout it out. It's such a badass fucking set. Because if I recall it correctly, it started out with Daymendos and losers, the arms and winners. So Daymendo, if you don't know how a double... I realize, like, actually a lot of people who don't watch a lot of tournaments for games don't know how, like, a double elimination format works. It's basically... in double elimination, you essentially got 2 lives. You got 2 lives to lose. And losing a set is losing a life. So you get knocked down into loot. So you let's say you everyone starts out technically in winner's side. You lose one, you lose your winner's side set. You go down to losers. And then if you lose again, you're out of the tournament. That's a double elimination. You got 2 lives. So Daymendo is on losers' side. The arm is still on winners. Now, if someone in losers beats the person on winner's side, technically that winner's side person still has 1 life left. They still have 1 life left in the tournament. They haven't lost a single game that tournament. Or single set, I should say, to be more accurate. So technically what happens, it's sort of funny, but that's how it works, is you knock that person into loser's bracket. So you're both in losers. And so you get the grand finals. AKA a bracket reset is what you'll be referred to as. So Daymendo kind of like gets this a pretty... I forget what the first best of 5 went to, because finals is played best of 5. So first to 3 sets, first to 3 wins. I think it was like a 3-1. Like it was fair. It was a pretty strong showing if I remember it correctly. And then they start the final set, the final first to 3, and the arm just comes out with like just 2-0, just straight up. Right out the gates, and it's looking pretty bad. It's like, oh fuck, dude, they're on match point. If the arm gets one more win, Daymendo's, he's getting second place, but obviously he wants first. And there's this moment. They're on match point, 2-0 for the arm, and they start up game 3, and I don't know what the fuck happened, but Daymendo just like activated. He just turned the fuck on, and he had the arm's fucking number. Oh my god, it was like a straight 3-0 after that, like a complete reverse sweep. Like he played out of his fucking mind that day. It was so awesome to watch. Unfortunately, Kat had to leave because she had to step out because she ended up one of her classmates was in the area, funny enough. So they were like outside talking. They like were just connecting for a second. And I was inside watching this epic finals. She said that they could both hear the crowd from way inside. So funny enough, there's a Johnny player called Zweinat. Zweinat? I mean, Zwei is how you say the German word. Zweinat. He was in the Exile tournament. Was he in Plus R? I forget if he entered in Plus R. He was in the Exile tournament. Made it pretty far. He played really good. And I was just sitting toward like in the back half of the venue, just at like one of the tables they had set up. I was just kind of sitting there watching the grand finals, and this was around the reset time. And Zweinat happens to be standing near me, and he's very emotional. He's very into the match right now, and he says something like, I want Day to win this so fucking bad. I glanced over at him, and he goes, hey, what's your name? And it's just like really friendly. Like, hey, what's your name? And I go, me? My name's Taigen. And he looks at me for a second, he goes, What is it? Sorry? And I'm like, my name's Taigen. And he goes, is that your, and then I already know where this is going. I'm like, yeah, that's my real name. That's not my tag. It's my real name. And he goes, oh, cool. Very funny interaction. I've had people, yeah, obviously, I've had people who had no idea how to pronounce my name before, but having someone assume it was like my gamer tag was pretty funny. I haven't had that experience before. Throwback to when I was mentioning when I realized like live on the podcast that maybe people wouldn't realize that putting Taigen Moon in the main channel's name would clue people in that that is my name, that I am not the seller. Like, wait, people might still not realize this. That's my name. Anyway, yeah, no, it was cool. We talked for like 5 seconds, but he was really nice. Oh, so another cool person I met, Hirsch, who's a really good Venom player. He's he was my first opponent in Plus R. He was my first bracket opponent, and he was like, I was a little. There was a little bit of confusion at the start, because it was just like, the TO can't find a person. They're doing check-ins, everyone's checked in, the TO can't find somebody, so it's like, oh, are we starting? It should have probably, the schedule says it should have started by now, but like, oh, he's running around looking for some person. I already knew that. I do a little devious things. When I saw that my first opponent would be Hirsch on just like the start.gg for the tournament, I immediately went and just did a quick search in the Plus R Discord and saw that he sent a lot of messages in the Venom channel. So I was like, okay, he's probably a Venom player. Just so I know. I'm devious like that. And then we were just, waiting there, and I saw a dude playing Venom, and I was like, I just looked at Kat, and I'm like, that might be the guy that I'm playing first. And it turns out I went up and I was like, hey, are you Hirsch? I think I heard someone call him Hirsch or something. So I just went up like, hey, are you Hirsch? And he goes, oh yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, I think I'm your first opponent today. And then we ended up just kind of like talking while we were waiting for the TO to sort everything out and get everybody in place. We were just chatting, and I was like, yeah, this is actually my first like in-person event that I've gone to. And he was like, oh, it's really cool. And he was just super nice. I don't know what else to say. He was really nice. He was really like friendly and helpful. I just had like just a couple basic dumb questions, like, this first of two, right? And he goes, yep. I'm like, okay, cool. Very polite, really swell dude. Told me about like the NorCal FGC Discord, or the Anime FGC Discord specifically for NorCal. Really cool. And then he made it really far. I think he got 4th in Plus R. That was like another thing, is that like we were watching the Plus R top 8, and I was like, oh, Hirsch, that nice guy that I met, that we met. Also, Kat mentioned he was one of the only people who said hi to me, because I mentioned like, yeah, I'm here with my girlfriend actually. And he just, oh, hi. And I guess that meant a lot to her. So seeing him like win, she was like, yeah, that guy was nice. Shout out to him and Zweinot. That was cool. You know what else was weird? Seeing people who I have just seen in like VODs or on YouTube. Like, I saw Apology Man. I didn't say hi to him because I guess I was sheepish, but I was like, oh my god, that's just Apology Man. That's just him. And he was wearing his CLG jersey, like a true esportser, a real e-athlete, real Call of Duty e-athlete. I'm a professional Call of Duty athlete. You know what that is? Oh, it's that awesome video of FaZe Banks walking in. It's from like 2011, and it's FaZe Banks. If you don't know who that is, just don't worry about it. Walking into a GameStop and like being like, "Hey, yo, what's up?" And the employee just doesn't know who he is, and he's like, "You don't know FaZe?" The employee's like, "No, I don't really know." There's like 3 people in this GameStop. It's like a mom and her kid. There's like a grandma and like one college dude, and then the cashier. And he's like, "Dude, I'm a professional Call of Duty athlete." And the guy's like, "Oh, cool. Yeah." And he's like, "Just come here to pay my respects, to the where the games are sold." It's like, yeah, dude. And then I think before they leave, he goes, all right, phase out, which is a fucking epic sign off. Phase out. Anyway, what were they talking about? Oh yeah, right. So that was cool. Basically a lot of people who you wouldn't hear about if you weren't into this very specific hobby. I totally didn't recognize Daymendo at first because he's had like short hair. If I just look at like some of these like thumbnails, because he's had short hair for so long, and then he grew his hair out. So it's like a little longer, and was wearing a mask. I totally didn't recognize him. So that was I didn't recognize him until like they had the name up on the stream. I was like, oh shit, that's him. I guess I should talk about my personal, like, how I did. I went 1-2 in Plus R, and I went 0-2 in Strive. So the Plus R, you know, hey, I was expecting to go 0-2 in both games. But hey, a win's a win. Just like Vin Diesel says in the Fast and the Furious, a win's a win. What does he say? It doesn't matter if it's by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning. Yeah, so that was, I don't know, it was funny enough, weirdly enough. I've done online tournaments before, and I always get really bad tournament nerves just in my own home, right? Just in the comfort of my own home. And strangely enough, I had none when I was sitting down at Slashback. I think I had a little bit at Strive because there was just more people around watching. Plus R felt really casual. I don't know. There was a nice vibe to it. Plus R community is generally, like, it's pretty nice in general. But yeah, hey, I'll take a win. And it was when you look at the caliber of the people who entered that tournament, yeah, what was I expecting? And it was fun. I mean, I love playing Guilty Gear, dude. I can't complain. The Strive one, definitely, like, yeah, I went 0-2. Honestly, I wasn't that upset about it. It wasn't, like, terrible losses. If I had lost and I really shouldn't have, I would probably feel bad, but it was like, okay, I can see, yeah, I don't expect to be so good that I could just walk in and beat, you know, both of these people that I played in a row. I'm not that good enough. I'm not expecting anything crazy. The first match I played was against this dude who himself was perfectly, you know, polite. Just a regular person. What happens at you sit down, you do a button check, and then as the game is starting up, you just do a fist bump and you say, hey, good luck or something. Exactly that. His friend behind him, much more annoying. I'm not used to playing under pressure, so that's like one of the things. And this guy wasn't like shit-talking me, but he was really hyping up his friend. He was the only one. There was a decent crowd of people around us. This friend was the only guy making noise. Every time his friend got a hit, yeah, there's a better than I know. Oh yeah, fuck him up. It wasn't that crude, but you know, it was that like level of just. Also, he had a very annoying voice. Like his voice kind of hurt to listen to. Just very loud, shrill voice. Put me on like kind of like genuinely got on my nerves. So anyway, I lose, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I get back up. We're just waiting for, you know, the next set. Next guy who sits down with that first dude is a Milia player. And this Milia player, so the guy I thought was a Faust main. Milia player sits down, fucking wrecks him, just fucking blows him out of the water, mixes him 6 ways to Sunday. That dude's friend wasn't saying shit. And I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit of satisfaction out of it. Not against the Faust himself, but just his friend. Also, come on, dude. You're not even going to cheer for your friend to make a comeback or something? Like, you're not even going to be... Like, there was a really funny moment where the Milia did... The Faust goes up, he tries to do, like, a meaty command grab on the Milia's wake up. Milia wakes up with a Winger super, which is invulnerable. And, blows through the command grab. But then, an item, like a hammer that the Faust had tossed like a second earlier, comes down and bonks the Milia right as like they're in like the rising part of the animation after the invulnerability, and just really goofy, funny moment. And still, fucking guy's friend didn't say anything. It wasn't like, oh, my guy's back, hit it. And I think the other people in the crowd around us maybe, like, also found that dude annoying because everyone was rooting for the Milia. Everyone was, like, getting hype for the Milia. And, I don't think that the Milia and some of those other people were together. Like, it just seems there's some unconnected people. But everyone's getting hyped for them and no one for the Faust player. I think it's because that guy's friend was annoying. Yeah, so fucking the Milia ended up winning. And, you know, I got a little bit of satisfaction out of that, you know. The Faust guy himself was nice. Again, I'm not glad he lost, but I'm glad that his friend didn't say shit. And then the second guy I played was a Kai player who was probably a lot more around my skill level, but I was unable to, let's see, pulling the set out of my memory. I wasn't really able to adapt. Wasn't really able to like exploit the weaknesses he had. I was a little too squirrely on defense. I probably could have played a lot more patient, had a little more lockdown of the match, but I didn't. And he had a solid enough grasp of Kai to kind of push his advantage. It was funny. He won off of just like a fucking wake up DP. And I would, and when it happened, I went, oh, and he went, oh, like he was like, damn, that was living on a prayer, you know. But it was all cool. It was all good. I ended up playing multiple people just in casual sets, people from Seattle. Funny enough, I guess just because it's a West Coast event. I guess we forget that. Look, when people say West Coast, they mean California. Technically, Oregon and Washington are West Coast, but no one thinks of them as such. But yeah, it is. So there was people from Seattle there, and they were really nice. I got like some guy's Discord. Maybe we'll link up and, you know, play some games later. It was just a good time. Like, a lot of cool people. Like, I didn't really have, besides that one dude's friend who was kind of obnoxious, I didn't really have any negative experiences. Yeah, I mean, nothing's jumping out to me. Besides having to wait until fucking 9 p.m. for Strive pools. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much it. And then the second day, I was already expecting to be out of the tournament. So I was like, all right, we'll catch the train. And so I had no obligation to be there at any specific time. So I was like, okay, we can get there a little later. So we caught the train, showed up at like noon, like 12:30, something like that. And I don't know, just kind of like, again, we went through the same thing of like, Kat was kind of really bored, and then we started watching Top 8, and then she got really into it. I ended up playing some Exile with someone. Actually another Slayer who was all really cool, and it's just a fun ass time. Even when you're losing, it's a fun ass time. And that's like honestly like one of the something that a lot of people have a misconception about. I lost most of the time I was there, right? I'm not particularly good at any of these games. A lot of people get intimidated by wanting to play, like they think like, oh, someone who's better than me, they're going to be annoyed that they're going to think I'm wasting their time, right? And I can assure you that is not at all what people like. That is not at all what is going through most people's heads. I was playing, this other Slayer player, and I think I won. I think we played something like 10 games. I think I won one. Uh, Dude, every time the rematch screen came up, he was mashing his fucking buttons to hit rematch. Like, it was not... He was not, And the only reason we stopped playing was because Exile top 8 was starting in, like, a few minutes, and we were just... he just wanted to, like... he was like, Exile top 8 starting. All right, we'll get some until then. Like, that was... We probably would have played for quite a while longer until, maybe someone asked for games or something like that, but... most people are like really, really good sports about it. And as someone who is at least good enough at some fighting games to notice when I'm better than other people that I play online, that never goes through my head, for instance. There's a great, I heard someone one time sum it up as like, if you're truly a good sport and you truly care about like being good at the game, with a healthy mindset, if you have a good mindset, no game is ever a waste of time, because weaker players are a great opportunity for you to, one, not play as hard, which is can just be kind of relaxing. Two, try out some new stuff, try out some new combos, some new setups, stuff that maybe you couldn't get away with experimenting against someone who is at your skill level or better. Maybe trying out a new character, something like that. And also, speaking it from experience, sometimes I would go online and like play someone, for instance, in Plus R when I was really grinding Plus R hard, I want to say a year ago. And I would play someone online who was clearly not as experienced as me. And watching over the course of like many, many games, watching them slowly get better and like adapt and learn the matchup and get better at the game and like pull off a combo that they were dropping is actually really cool to watch. It's actually really gratifying to know that you are helping someone get better by just playing your game. It's a really cool, fun experience. Unless someone's like a real jerk, it's one of those things like maybe someone would look down on you for being a worse player or insult or talk shit or something like that. But that person was just an asshole anyway, right? Like most people who are good enough to get to a point where they're actually good have a healthy enough mindset to never like, do that kind of thing, to look down on somebody. The adage, I guess, to go back to that was, weaker players who are weaker than you are a chance to try out new things and take it a little easier. Players who are stronger than you are a chance to practice your defense. And that's super true, because like people who are better than you are just gonna know what they can punish. They're gonna know what they can do and what you can't do. And if there's like a gap in a string that can be interrupted, right? They're gonna fucking let you know. They're not gonna let it slide. They will correct bad habits that you've formed, basically. It's a great thing. Like, I have a super bad habit on Slayer of just hitting 2D. I will just hit random 2Ds because it's fun and sometimes it works. And this other Slayer, he knew that I would do 2K 2D every fucking time, even if I didn't actually hit the 2D. He would block the 2D. The 2K. He would block the 2K. He knew the 2D was coming, and he just instant blocked the 2D and just got a full starter on me with like close slash, and just ran offense on me. And I was like, okay, and it's just one of those bad habits that like it would probably take me a day of practice to try and start working my way out of that. Because sometimes you just pull that on people, and they won't get it, right? They won't get that they can just block and then would punish you because you always go for a sweep, right? For a knockdown. And you can get away with it. I saw some people, like I was giving people, even though I was losing the Testament versus whatever, whoever matchup a lot in Strive when I was playing casuals, I would mention, because I would notice that people would like, for instance, testament. Here's a little testament tidbit. So 2S2H is not a true block string at all, unless there's stain, obviously, unless you get like a stain pop off of 2S, which requires setup. But just like 2S2H does not combo or block string naturally. It only combos off of like a counter hit 2S basically, or stain, obviously. So I'm like, I was playing this Leo player, and he was respecting 2S2H, and I was like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, you can totally flash kick that gap. It's like not even a small gap. It's like there's like a 20 frame gap in between them. Maybe not, and maybe because of distance and being disjointed, not everyone can like punish it. But like, hey, Leo just has like an invincible reversal if a testament is, and you can see the startup of 2H like from a mile away. Like if they do 2S and then there's like a quick, you could just flick up, do I don't know what the name for Leo's goddamn flash kick is called. But he was like, oh, good to know. That's just one of those little knowledge tidbits. That like, for instance, if I was abusing that, and he knew that, and because if he was really experienced in the matchup or something, he would just punish me for that, and he wouldn't let me do it. And so I stopped doing that because, you know, I told him. But I think it's better that he knows, because we're just playing casuals. Like, who the fuck cares, you know? Yeah. Great time. I really want to go. It makes me really want to do more like FGC stuff, because it was just a good time hanging out and playing fighting games with people. I was worried because I do this thing mentally, just the way that I'm wired, where when I'm around a lot of people and a lot of energy, I guess it's just like an introvert thing. But like my energy level goes way down. I find that very exhausting. That's why school was really rough for me, like just in general, because of the exposure. Like I would come home from high school, I'd have to take like a 4-hour nap. No matter how much sleep I got, I'd have to take like a 4-hour nap every day, because I was exhausted from like 7-8 hours of school and exposure to people. I was worried that like I was gonna, because what'll usually happen, I'll be there for like 5 minutes, I'll start slowing down, and then I start dipping into the depressive side of like the mood spectrum. Not like depressed, like I'm super sad and shit, but just the low energy kind of ho-hum. I usually get really calm. And low energy, which is close to being sad. But not really. It's just on the depressive end of the spectrum. That's just what happens to me. And I was kind of worried, like, okay, I hope that doesn't happen. I don't want to show up and be excited for this, and I actually end up being, you know, like really drab and gray and not having a good time. But no, that didn't happen. And I think I've experienced this at like conventions, for instance, where I'll be very calm, like I mentioned, but because I'm surrounded by things that I'm interested in, it kind of like gives me enough, like, I don't know, something to latch onto, something to kind of stimulate my brain in a positive way, that I can kind of like enjoy my time. It's almost like every time I go to a convention with my friends, there's always a point where I kind of split off and I just kind of walk through the artist alley, or, you know, the dealer hall, whatever it's called. And I just kind of walk, and I'm walking through people and just looking at things. And I'm not buying anything unless something really catches my eye. I'm just kind of looking at stuff, and it's a very like Zen-like experience. Actually, it's actually really nice. It feels like I'm alone. It's kind of funny. It's almost like, you know, I have that thing. I'll feel very lonely in a crowd. It's probably not unique to me, but like, because of that, I can be in a crowd and feel like I'm getting alone time, depending on the situation. It's kind of paradoxical like that. Yeah. So I was, man, like I feel like there's nothing that goes on in my area. Maybe I just have to search harder, but it's tough to find stuff I'd love to. I kind of want to like look and see if there's more like local FGC stuff in my area. Also, cost is a little prohibitive. You guys know I'm on a tight budget. This is a zero budget operation. The Cellar. So, yeah. Slashback 2023, the first year. Pretty great. I had a great time. I couldn't tell you how it stacks up to other events. I don't know what other people have been saying. Really? I mean, I couldn't, find much. Just if I just did a cursory search on Twitter. Oh, my neck. Did you hear that? I don't know. Yeah, seems like most people had a pretty good time. I'm just seeing some some positive tweets about the event. It's cool. Yeah, I would recommend if you're in the area, if you're in like the West Coast area next year, and I'm assuming I'm hoping they'll put it on again. If they put it on again, I'll totally go. Maybe with someone who's a better hype man than Kat, because oh my fucking god, Kat is the worst, I guess, hype woman you could ever have. I'm sorry, baby. It's time for you're going to hear this over again. I'm going to share this with the people. The one win I got in Plus R, I get up from the seat, I turn around, I'm like, yo! And Kat just looks up at me, she goes, oh, what? And I'm like, I just won. She goes, oh, did you? Oh, I wasn't paying attention. She was on her fucking phone. While I was playing the only set I won. What the fuck? What the fuck? Just the whole time, like that dude behind us while I was during my Strive pool, who was just yelling the whole time, just being really loud, and I'm like, you're not like cheering for me or anything. She's like, you won a round and I clapped, and I'm like, I can't hear you clapping. It's like the loudest venue ever. There's like a bunch of people and like really loud music and game sounds going on everywhere. Sorry, baby, I love you, but you gotta get louder. Yeah, it was great. I want to talk a little bit about... actually, I want to go to the bathroom. I'm back from the bathroom. This story that I wanted to talk about, I literally saw it right as I was starting to record, and I was like, I want to talk about this, because I don't think anyone else is, and if there's anything that this show is, it's Brave, because we talk about the stories no one else is willing to, and that is that Netflix is developing more video games. Yeah, remember that? You remember, like, I forgot this was a thing until I saw this headline. I was like, oh yeah, I talked about this on this podcast. I don't even know how long, months ago? Years ago? I don't know how long it was. Netflix is doing like a weird venture into game streaming. I think in an effort to shore up their subscription numbers and add more value to their platform, because their programs started getting like cannibalized by like the owners of the properties and started getting slapped onto their own like new streaming services. I remember that happened when The Office got taken off of Netflix. That was a Netflix classic. And then oops, now it's on what, Warner? No, what's the Peacock one? What's that Peacock-a-doodle-doo? Whatever that is. Yeah, so like anyway, this is coming to us from gamesindustry.biz, courtesy of James Batchelor. Netflix taking a, quote, more strategic approach as it ramps up dev partnerships. And now the broad strokes, this is just coming from like a press briefing they put out. the broad strokes of this is that they have some kind of like, so I don't even fucking know what games they have. These are all, okay. So they're trying, it seems like they've been trying to make first party games that like, you can't take this from us. You can't do it like The Office. Like some wounded, traumatized person. So it looks like they've got like a Narcos. There's just like a little spread. There's like a picture here. It's like a spread collage of various games that they offer, and there's like a Narcos game. It looks like is it a Game of Thrones? They don't make Game of Thrones, but I don't know. That's as much as I can surmise. Apparently, they have 55 games on their platform already. Let's see. Let's just read out the bullet points. So basically, the main things is that there is a new game coming, and this seems like the most concerted push from them. There's going to be a new game coming out sometime, I think this year, they said, and it's going to be based off of a yet to be announced Netflix original IP. So basically, they're going to come out with a new original show, and it's going to have a tie-in game on their service. That's their big multimedia attack plan. I would be curious as to whether or not, like, I don't know if that's really. I have to mute a Discord channel right now. Hang on. I don't know if that's really like enticing to people. I feel like in order to make that concept work, the game would have to be really good, or the show would have to tie into it in some way, like actually incentivize. No, but that kind of sucks. Like multimedia properties are usually best, I feel, when they aren't necessary to understand each other. Like, I played this goddamn game 2 years ago on stream called Mind Fighter, and it's a text adventure that's based off of a novella, and it is the most confusing, not like the shit you're supposed to do is I almost want to make a video on it someday. It would honestly just be a lot of the same criticisms that I had of the other text adventures in the DOS Horror Part 2 video. Just way too goddamn cryptic and specific. Like mind-blowing when I learned the shit you actually have to type in to do specific things. Like, why? And in order to even understand it on a basic level, you would have to read the novella. Basically, you have to read a book to understand what you're supposed to do in the game. I can see how that would be a cool concept for someone, right? Like the creator, perhaps the creators, because I think someone, a small team that programmed it, and then like one person who wrote the book. But like, when I play a game, I want to play a game. I don't want to read a book. Even if I'm playing a text adventure, I want to play a text adventure video game. I don't want to read a book. I'm not opposed to reading. I read frequently. I like reading. I just don't want to read now. I want to play a goddamn video game. Same thing with like, if you made a Netflix game, right? That you had to play to understand the show, or vice versa. Well, that's kind of the tough thing, right? Is like, you could do it because most things that are based off of another property, like a lot of tie-in, like kind of just, whatever mobile games, kind of rely on you already watching the original thing. And that's, I think, fine because it's meant for someone who's already into it. But I'm imagining this game being like a vessel in itself to get people interested in the show, like to cross-pollinate, basically. Like, oh, you find out about you play the game, and then you're like, huh, I wonder what's the deal with the show. They haven't really, there's zero details. All that is just that, hey, it's going to be based on a new IP that we're rolling out in I assume a show, maybe a movie. I don't know. I'm assuming it's a show. You could also, I don't know, man. It's like, you could maybe have like a game that is tangentially connected to something in the TV series or something like that. I don't know. There's like a lot of ways that you could do it, but I feel like it's really, if one of them is necessary for the other one, like, they're looking at this already as like a multimedia thing, right? Like they directly call what's the word that they use? Excuse me. Excuse me. Transmedia. The CEO, or whoever said this, not the CEO. Yeah, I think the CEO. Lumbe? The fuck is his name? Oh, her name. Leanne Lumbe. Leanne Lumbe. Lumbe. Called it it's a big bet for us. Okay, here it is, okay. Wait, is this the same thing? I have to make sure this is the same thing, because there's a couple things that they announced. Yes, this is the new thing. Okay. So, Super Evil Megacorp, who is going to be developing a new game for Netflix. Super Evil Megacorp, if you don't know, developed a mobile game called Vainglory, which was it was a MOBA on mobile. And I actually played Vainglory back when it was still around. It kind of ended up shutting down, unfortunately, because of some... They just didn't really know how to monetize it well, from what I recall. But the game itself was honestly pretty fun. It was like a bite-sized, very short rounds, like maybe 10 minutes at most. Small map. It was like a 3v3. Pretty fun character. It was just a solid, bite-sized kind of MOBA for mobile devices. I remember they actually had a guy who used to make League videos called Ciderhelm, ended up being like a design lead on it or something like that, or some kind of dev role. He got picked up because he was pretty good at. He made these pretty interesting like analytical videos on how certain underrated League champions could be played in ways that were very strong, and so I think they picked him up because it seemed like he knew his MOBAs. A thing or two about practical application. So I just based off that one game from them, I used to, have I mentioned this? I used to live like down the street. I used to live in San Mateo. They had an office literally like 2 corners from where I lived. It was really weird. Like I just walked past there. I was like, oh, they're right there. I never got a job or anything with them. I think they were, because I didn't want a job. I couldn't handle a job in high school. But, yeah. Also, I was like fucking 15. They're not going to hire. Anyway, I have a decent amount of faith that they can put together something good. Where did she say? Right, yeah. So, of today's announcements, Lumbe hints that the Super Evil Megacorp title is a particularly important project. The studio's CEO, Christian Siegerstrahl, told press that while he could not share more details about the game, it will be team-based and feature the sort of fluid combat the developer has become known for with Vainglory. And then, quote, it's a big bet for us, and we're very much focused on creating an ecosystem around the streaming content and the game. It's really a transmedia play for us in this brand new IP. And that, I think, is an interesting sentiment, because most times when you see like a mobile game of whatever, right? It's usually like it's really more of a marketing thing than it is a part of the core product, if that makes sense. Like when you're when you're making action movie so-and-so. You want to make a movie. And then to promote the movie, you make a game. This seems like they're kind of like the same thing. We would like to make a show and a game in one. And it's going to be part of like one kind of core product, if that makes sense. Also, the fact that it's a multiplayer game from Super Evil Sem, from Sem, who like... with combat in it is interesting, because when I imagine like a lot of these games tend to be kind of catered towards, I guess, a more casual audience, towards more like an audience doesn't want to do like big combat stuff, right? Combat games. It's an interesting play to me to then want to pitch something to like a casual audience of normies who something like a MOBA, which I don't know, I'm just assuming, right? Let's just say it's a MOBA. That's weird to me. It's an interesting play. Will it work out? I have no idea, because we have no details other than that. Because obviously you get Super Evil Megacorp because you want them to make a team-based thing with pretty good feeling combat, which is what Vainglory had. It's a real shame that game got shut down. It was pretty good. There was a couple other things. Monument Valley and the sequel is going to be added. There's Ubisoft is making games for them. The Mighty Quest for Epic Loot, I think. It's getting a Netflix exclusive spin-off called Mighty Quest Rogue Palace. So there's exclusive games on this service. And it's really funny because like it seems like they're going all in on it, but at the same time, this is probably the first you, the listening audience, is ever hearing any of this. Like where do you even play these things? Where do you play these games? I'm thinking like I haven't used Netflix in a few years until kind of recently with Kat putting on a bunch of shit for me, a bunch of nonsense, and like when we were just watching it on like her TV, she had like the TV app for Netflix. I didn't even get the impression that they had games. I guess maybe it wouldn't be compatible with... I could see it not being compatible with a television, but I think it's like not even an ad or something like, hey, check out the mobile app and play some cool games. Something like that. Like this thing has... This whole arm of the website, of the service, has not been marketed at all, I feel. Like, no one has heard of this. I'm the only person who's heard of it, and it's because I actively look for news stories that'll interest me in gaming. I mean, this is a article on gamesindustry.biz. Do you think the regular person, the regular gamer, your everyday gamer, is reading gamesindustry.biz unless they get like linked to it or something like that? Oh, it has Into the Breach. Interesting. What game? Into the Breach, Spiritfarer, Immortal. What games does it have? Netflix games. What's their library? Available games. Dust and Neon. They got a League of Legends spin-off game, which I've never heard of. Something called Hextech Mayhem. Point P. I don't know what Point P is. There's like a little bird-looking character. Anything that I would know. There's like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. Kentucky Route Zero. Really? That's interesting. Oxenfree. I'm just like games that I've heard of. Obviously some Stranger Things games. 12 minutes. Really? Valiant Hearts Coming Home. this is more than I was expecting. I mean, there's a lot of just like a game called Knittens, and it's a match 3 game with kittens and yarn, and it's just, that kind of thing. Matching games, like, the casual mobile kind of what you'd expect. Yeah, Spiritfarer, something called Immortality, which I guess this Reddit comment says is really good. Into the Breach. There's some weirdly it feels like it's so weird. It feels like someone cares. That's what's really strange about it. It feels like somebody here cares about making this service have actually kind of a decent lineup of games. I guess maybe there could be a little more. There's a decent amount of variety, actually. Maybe there could be a little more heavy hitters, but I don't know much about it. A lot of these are just like really casual, just kind of whatever games. But there's like some like legit like decent games on this. I imagine this is what's weird to me, right? I was gonna say it feels like there's someone working on this who actually cares and wants to actually secure titles to add value to the service. But then the management itself almost sees it as like a tax write-off and doesn't even care, right? And like part of that, but then I think, wait, how much are they going, like, why would, this is so much effort to go through for just like a tax write-off? Like, what was the plan here? If you just marketed it, most people probably have Netflix. If the games are free, are the games free? No ads, no extra fees, no in-app purchases. Huh. It's all pretty alright. Included with your Netflix membership. Yeah, it's just a fucking game streaming service you get with if you pay for Netflix. Weird, right? And no one's talked about it. Games are saved per profile. Yeah. Interesting. Maybe if you have Netflix, check out Netflix games. If there's something you want to play, you could play Kentucky Route Zero. Or Oxenfree. Or 12 minutes. It only takes 12 minutes. It's not going to take you that long. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know how well the service performs. I have literally never heard anyone talk about it besides me. Oh shit, that Point P game was made by the people who made Downwell. Hey, maybe check out Point P then. Yeah. Yeah, there's just, it's weird. What a strange case. A service that actually seems like it has some effort put into it. It seems like they're actually trying to get good games on it. It's a game streaming service. It's small. It's kind of compact. And they are refusing to advertise it. I feel like Google did this exact thing with Stadia. No, actually Google tried to advertise it. It was just extremely unappealing because of the way they had it set up. I feel like this feels like this makes way more sense because it's just, as long as everything is, I guess, because, Netflix is on so many different platforms, it could be kind of tough to make it compatible, but I guess on mobile might not be too bad. I mean, if you just, I guess you could just download Netflix just to play the games. Yeah, maybe, huh. Interesting. What a strange story. So, a couple more things I wanted to talk about. Speaking of watching things, so while Kat was over, she really wanted to watch Labyrinth. She gave me a choice between a couple movies, and I was like, yeah, I'll watch Labyrinth. I'm actually kind of curious about that movie. I was in a stage production of Labyrinth when I was a little kid at a theater camp I used to go to for summer camp. That's all I know about it. Everything I know about it is basically from there, and I know that David Bowie has a huge bulge in his tight leather pants, and he does a thing with some silver balls. Anyway, we booted up Labyrinth on a piracy website, and it was really, really low. Like, the sound was mixed way too low, and again, I have really quiet monitor speakers. I mean, they don't really expect you to use the monitor speaker just by itself. I feel like the manufacturer kind of expects that you're going to be using like earbuds or headphones, something like that. So we couldn't watch that, and then meaning we had to go do our second option that she really wanted to watch more than me, which was the Rugrats movie. Or Rugrats the movie. I forget how they I think it would be Rugrats the movie. I think that was the trend. The movie. The Cellar the movie. I should make that. I say that having like multiple feature length videos on my channel. Anyway, so we watched the Rugrats movie. It was kind of interesting for me because I never really watched Rugrats as a kid. It was kind of on its way out by the time that I was growing up. I guess she watched it because she was more into Nicktoons and stuff, but I never really did. Obviously, I was aware of it. It was really popular. It was just part of that Nickelodeon branding that you'd see, but I never really watched it that much. Also, I figured it was a lot of gross out humor, and since I was a child, I have despised gross out humor. Or just gross stuff in general, which they're babies. It's literally unavoidable. It's the reality of being a baby is that there's gross stuff, So I always kind of avoided it, and I had a very rough idea of what the show was like and what the characters were like, but not that much beyond it. So this movie was an interesting first real taste. I don't want to say a taste of the Rugrats. That sounds a little wrong. But experience, a virgin experience with the Rugrats. Oh, wait a sec. Which is it's also interesting because apparently Kat told me the movie and the sequel, Rugrats in Paris, which we also watched the next night, were written by people who did not write on the show, which I found kind of interesting. So Rugrats the movie, it is Rugrats the movie. There's not a whole ton to say about it. It's kind of weird. It's weird. So the premise of the Rugrats movie is that it feels like this is what it kind of caught me out. It surprised me that it was written by people who didn't really write on the show. Because it feels like two different Rugrats plot lines that were kind of smashed together. One of them is Tommy has a new baby brother, and he has to adjust to not being the center of attention all the time from his parents and not being an only child. And the other plot line is the Rugrats get lost in the woods. And it feels like these were two plot lines, like two episode ideas, for instance, that the writers had floating around that they wanted to do at some point, but they never could because it would be like, oh, that concept, I feel like it needs more time than like a 7-minute episode. Like, do like 15-minute kind of like two halves, like basically like 2 7-minute episodes like per Rugrats thing, like chunks basically. That kind of a format. Like this kind of a concept needs a little more time that we want to devote to it. So hey, we're making a movie. Let's pull these out of the drawer and give it the time and the energy that it needs. Apparently that's not how it was formulated. It was just people who never worked on the show. Yeah, that's it. Tommy has a new baby brother, and the Rugrats, because of shenanigans, end up getting lost in the woods and almost dying. It's a weirdly intense film. It's a weirdly intense film. Like lots of oh my god, oh, this is like actually really dangerous. This is really dangerous. And it seemed, and the fact, because they're babies, they don't really understand the gravity of the situation, which almost makes it a little scarier watching it as like an adult. Because you're like, oh god, like they start walking in the wrong direction. You're like, oh no, oh my god, they're going to die of exposure. oh, there's gonna be 5 baby corpses dug up by the sheriff's dog. Oh no. They're gonna have their flesh picked away by wild animals. Oh no, like this doesn't end well. And of course it does, but it's like, wow, they're in a lot of danger. And I sort of asked Kat, because I was like, it seems weird. It seems weirdly intense. And I was like, what I imagine the Rugrats, like a typical Rugrats episode is that it's a very small scale conflict where babies encounter something for the first time. And because they're babies, have some kind of a misunderstanding that leads to a conflict. And then it all gets resolved by the end, and they maybe learn something. And she goes, yeah, that's basically how every episode goes, actually. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I had a good reading on it. Which is why it's strange. Like, she was like, yeah, it'll be like, oh, the baby's first time to the dentist. What's they're all scared of the dentist, or baby's first time going to this thing. And it's like, or first experience with this kind of a thing happening, right? And it's very, again, small scale conflict because it's a fucking baby. Like, you don't have to go that crazy when your perspective character is like 3 years old, because at that age everything is huge to a baby. Everything is gigantic. I graduated high school in 2020. It's been a little, I guess, over 3 years since then. And in that span of time, I can conceptualize that span of time. That is as long as Tommy Pickles has been alive. That is his entire life experience. Everything is huge to a baby. Right? So it wasn't as bad with the gross out humor as I was kind of expecting. There was some, but it was, and I didn't like it, but it was like, okay, it was mostly stomachable. What I did find out, okay, well, so in that vein, I do not like Phil and Lil. They are little, I don't like them because they're disgusting. They're what I don't like about babies. They're gross, and they smell, and they're like fucking demon monsters. They eat worms. They eat fucking worms in Rugrats in Paris. They just eat them. They slurp them like ramen. I was like, that took my soul out when I saw that. I do not like them. I feel indifferent towards Tommy Pickles. I feel indifferent towards Dill Pickles. Chucky is kind of funny because he's like a horrible monster thing. Like, he's this weird malformed creature. There's a shot in Rugrats in Paris where there's like a cloud that's supposed to be shaped like Chucky, but it's like a 3D render, and he looks so fucking stupid in 3D. Like, he looks like, he reminds me of like Manny from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It's like a weird alligator creature. The best character in the show, which I discovered that the best character in the show is Angelica. I fucking love Angelica. I forget what her last name is. She is the best character. I swear, every single scene she's in is great. And it was funny because Kat was expecting me to really dislike her, and I was very positive towards her. Okay. My love for Angelica is the same as it. How do I describe this? Angelica is like Palpatine from the Star Wars prequels. Like, Palpatine is this evil motherfucker monster man, and he knows it and he loves it, and he's just having a good time all the time. Like, that's one of the reasons why Revenge of the Sith is the best prequel. It's because you get the most Palpatine being eaten. All the other ones, he's like, well, I am Chancellor Palpatine. I am a politician. And then he gets to cut loose in the third one, and it's so good. He's just having a grand old time. I love Palpatine. And Angelica has that same energy. She's a little fucking scoundrel. She's a scamp. She's a little la criatura. Like, Rugrats in Paris, they're on the plane, right? And Angelica's just listening to music really loud and just stomping her fucking feet. I'm like, that's so funny. She's just being a little piece of shit. I love it. I love her. Also, she fucks with the babies, and babies deserve to be fucked with. The Cellar is a pro baby abuse channel. She's delightful. I adored every scene with Angelica when she got to be a little scamp, little scoundrel. Rugrats in Paris is, I feel like, the better movie of the two. I don't know. It seems more. How do I describe? Oh, I should go over this. The scene where Tommy tries to kill his brother, like straight up. If you haven't seen the Rugrats movie, this might be really strange, but there is a scene where Tommy tries to straight up murder his younger brother, and not like. And in specifically a way where there's this plot line in the movie where there's like a circus train, there's like a monkey circus, that the train had like an accident and all the monkeys escaped, and they've been kind of like harassing the babies as they're in the woods. And there's a bit where Tommy is going to he's fed up with Dill, like he's sick of Dill because of things that have happened previously in the movie. And he's going to pour like mashed bananas on him so that the monkeys like are going to swarm and like eat his skin off. This is Tommy's intent, is that he's going to make the monkeys eat his brother in front of him. And it's like raining. They're like out in the mud in the rain at night. There's like fucking rain coming down. He's holding up the jar of banana sludge and he's pouring it down. The monkeys are like, it's like this fucking bizarre sequence. It's so dark. It's really fucked up. And it awakened this memory of like this one time when I was a kid, and I think I saw just this scene. And even as like a young child, like 5 years old, I was like, oh my god, he's trying to get the monkeys to eat him. What the fuck? What the shit? It's like, Cat made a reference to like Isaac from the Bible. And it's Isaac and Simon, and it's not that it's not exactly a 1-to-1, but like the framing, right? God told Tommy Pickles to kill his brother. It's like, what the fuck? And he doesn't go through with it. Like, he has a conscience, and he stops before, and he feels really bad, but it's like, that's a really weird thing to have like a 3-year-old do, right? Like, I'm pretty sure I learned one time that 4 years old is where children gain the ability to tell lies. It's weird to give a 3-year-old the capability to want to murder someone, specifically a family member. Like, he's like a psychopath. Tommy Pickles is gonna have problems when he grows up. What was up with that? That was so weird. I wonder how the original writers of the show felt about that. I wonder if they ran the script past them. I almost want to like look this up now. The Rugrats movie. Like, maybe there's something on oh, the soundtrack. That's a weird thing to bring up. There's a lot of weird. They do a weird thing with the soundtrack where like early in the movie they start singing and I'm like, is this a musical? This feels like a musical sequence. Or is this just a one-off? She's like, there's some music. And it's like a weird, it's like a musical. It's really strange. I hazard to call it a musical because it's more like the movie's happening and then a song comes along and it just sort of happens for a bit. And it's weird because not all of them, but some of them are licensed songs that the characters are singing. But the characters are not singing the original versions. They're like modified version. Like the lyrics are changed to fit the context of what's happening. Like I remember Angelica. She's singing that like, one way or another, I'm gonna find you. That song. But she's singing about she's gonna find the babies. She's gonna find the babies. And it's just really strange. Rugrats in Paris has the same thing, and it also suffers from just weird filler musical sequences. Like, just random, why are we having a musical sequence right now? It's not moving the plot forward. It's barely connected to anything in the film. It feels like filler. Lenny Crap, what the fuck? There's a credit here for baby singers, and one of them is Lenny Kravitz, Iggy Pop. What? Beck? Was that just because their music was sampled? What? Let's see. Okay, production. Talks about making Rugrats into a feature film existed since the beginning of the series. The first attempt was in 1993. Was that how long Rugrats was running? Jesus. When Nickelodeon made a 2-year contract deal with 20th Century Fox to produce new material, but an unnamed Nickelodeon executive did not rule out the possibility to make films based on their existing properties. One of those that was proposed was Rugrats, along with Doug and the Ren and Stimpy Show. Yada, 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 yada. Where is there anything? 2 songs were cut from the film during production. Oh no. The first revolves around Stu and Dee Dee in a nightmare sequence where Dr. Lipschitz criticizes their parenting through a song. The second depicts the Rugrats pushing the Reptar wagon through the woods, debating what to do about Dill in an army chant styled song. These 2 scenes were cut from the theatrical VHS and Laserdisc release, DVD and Laserdisc releases. However, these are shown on CBS and Nickelodeon television airings of the film. Interesting. These scenes were also present in the print novelization. Where is the is there any like references like how the actual original studio felt, like original writers felt about it? Yeah, I mean, I can't see anything. I'm really curious how they feel about having Tommy, this little baby Tommy Pickles, turned into a attempted murderer. Anyway, Rugrats in Paris. Rugrats in Paris suffers from some of like the same weird filler filler. This is a Castlevania. Filler musical sequences. But it has a slightly more interesting plot of like, oh no, is Chucky's dad going to marry this French bitch? And no, I assume he doesn't. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and assume he does not marry the awful French woman. And instead, he marries the Japanese lady with the daughter who's really nice, that Chucky becomes friends with immediately. Also, I think I vaguely remembered there being an Asian girl on the show, so I was like, oh, this is probably where she's from. It feels like it was meant to be a movie, more so than the original. Like, oh, the Rugrats, like, a movie-worthy plot of the Rugrats feels like, oh, the Rugrats go to a new country. What's gonna happen? And then just, all I would want, it's weird, because, like, it goes a little too hard. It gets, like, really crazy for no fucking reason, where there's by the end, the Rugrats are piloting a giant Reptar mech, and they're fighting another mech in the streets of Paris, like Pacific Rim. And it's like, why do we have to be doing this in a Rugrats movie? All I would want out of this would be like, oh, the Rugrats go to a new country, and it's like a National Lampoon movie, basically, or that kind of a vibe. We're just going to get into wacky little misadventures with the kids and the parents, and instead, and then everyone's going to be fine by the end. And then instead, it's like this, it turns into this huge shenanigan. just a big deal for seemingly no reason. And I think it's fine. Like, there's a decent emotional core of like, oh, Chucky's mom died when he was really, really young. He's the only one who doesn't have a mother, and his father is like a single dad, and he's just, he's having some struggles and stuff like that, and maybe it would be nice if he could meet someone. That's a perfectly good, that's a great emotional core for a film, right? It just gets really out of hand for like no reason. Anything else about Rugrats in Paris that that's really worth noting? Besides the scene where Phil and Lil eat worms, like fucking animals, like beasts. There's a funny ass scene where Angelica, she ends up helping. She's kind of like helping the villain. And the reason she ends up in this situation is because she's under the French bitch's good desk eating cookies, and like it's just really funny. She's just fucking snacking, dude. She's like Han from Fast and Furious. Maybe that's why I like her. She's just a snacker, dude. Oh no, Angelica exploded in a high-speed car chase through the streets of Tokyo. What was he talking about? Anyway, yeah, it's fine. It's probably a little better, I would say. If I had to choose one to rewatch, it would be that one. It has more, I don't know, Rugrats, the movie is just kind of like, it's just kind of stuff happening. It feels like stuff happening. I don't know if there's that's probably a bad way to describe it. That's what it feels like. Yeah. The Rugrats movies, they're fine. They don't necessarily make me want to go and watch every episode of the Rugrats. Which, I mean, I didn't expect them to. But they're fine. Kat kind of wants to put... Did I talk about how we watched Good Burger? Good Burger is a way better movie. Holy shit. We watched Good Burger like 2 weeks ago. That movie is great. Like, it's just a dumbass fun movie. Yeah, I don't think I mentioned it on the podcast. Go watch... If you have the choice, go watch Good Burger. Like, that movie's genuinely just really fun. It's not deep. It's very silly. It has a wonderful late 90s feeling. It's not quite Y2K, but we're not, but it's things are changing. It's like a great, wonderful little time, right? I think it's 97. It's like you can feel the transition out of the 90s. You can feel the transition, and it's genuinely really funny. There's a lot of jokes, specifically what. Kel's character, I think Kel is the skinny one. Kel's character, I forget his name. There's jokes he has that feel like they were written by Norm Macdonald. Like, I could hear some of them delivered in Norm's voice. Oh, Ed, that's the character's name. Just like that kind of like dumb persona that Norm would sort of put on, where he would act like an idiot. I could hear but like the things he was saying were really, they're very clever, witty, kind of smart ass kind of comments. But well, with Ed, it's intention. He's not actually. It's not a point. With Norm, it's all intentional, right? But with Ed, he's just dumb. Ed in that movie. He's not just dumb. I was really surprised. He's like legitimately like a special needs person, and I don't mean that in an insulting way. He's like. He does and says things that you're like, dude, do you need to be in like your own school? Like, I don't know, like, how do you function in society with, am I being mean right now? Am I being ableist? Ableist, as they would say in German? was like, wow. I mean, I love him. He's just. I hope he's got a good support system around him, man. God damn. Fucking people like Keenan's character taking advantage of him, giving him shitty contracts. You gotta watch out for your guys like that. Yeah, it's a fun ass movie. I liked it a lot. One more thing I want to talk about. So I have made another terrible decision, and I started playing Path of Exile. And you're probably moaning right now if you play Path of Exile, because I've made a terrible decision. But I was very curious about it. I've been curious about it for a long time, and I just wanted to get it. Dude, I have a weakness for games that are way too complicated for their own good. Like, everything I heard about this game was like, oh, it's one of my favorite games of all time, but it's so complicated. There's so many systems, there's so many little intricacies and this and that, and like, God, it's such an information overload. And I'm like, dude, I play fighting games. You can't, I'm not afraid. I've played MOBAs, I've played fighting games, I've played card games. I've played a lot of fucking games with like complicated shit in them. Obtuse, non-obvious, complicated things, right? I can dig in and learn the ins and outs of a game like Path of Exile. Maybe not the ins and outs, but like, you know, I can sink my teeth into it. And I think that's what's appealing to me about those kinds of things. It's almost like a challenge to me. I like things that I can sink my teeth into and really like, okay, there's a lot of stuff here for me to learn and get used to and get a hang of and stuff like that. I think that's why driving was cool. Because it was like, oh, I could really get into this. I could really get into learning this skill. So Path of Exile, if you are not familiar with Path of Exile or how it plays or what kind of a game it is, it's Diablo. It's literally Diablo. I've never played a Diablo game before, but I was on Prox's stream one time when he was playing a Diablo 2 Remastered, and I watched him play that for like 3-4 hours. And then I started playing Path of Exile, and I was like, wow, this is literally just Diablo. It really feels like the devs, I'm assuming this is what happened, the devs were just huge Diablo fans, and maybe were a little disappointed with how Diablo 3 came out. When was PoE, actually? Path of Exile. Yes, when did it come out? 2013. And when was Diablo 3? 2012. Okay, I see there. I don't know if it exactly lines up like that. Like, I'm assuming they didn't turn that game. They didn't turn PoE around in a year, but clearly people who really liked Diablo and wanted to make their own take on it. And then it's just been like, what if you had a Diablo game, but it was just updated continuously, like year over year over year, and now you end up with a game that is just gigantic. It is just ginormous. And I'm pretty deep into Act 3 so far. I've put about, let's see. What is this? Show me how much time. 18 hours. I put about 18 hours over the last couple days. Excuse me. Into it, and I have been enjoying it a lot. I have a soft spot for, like, you know me, I am all about the intense action games with like really like fast real-time combat and everything, where it's like really super highly challenging, just skill-based combat and all that. But then I see a game where I can make the number go up, and I say, ooh, tell me more. And, yeah, so, PoE is a number go up game, and I like it. I like it a lot. I like it when that number goes up, especially because so number go up will get me by on a game just based off of that, because I like seeing it. I like seeing number go up. But what will help it much more is if the act of making the number go up is itself enjoyable. So like Star Wars Galaxies, I dug into super hard and then I dropped it because my number go up craving was fulfilled. And the game itself is not very fun. It's actually very slow and has a lot of tedious, annoying mechanics from old school MMOs. I don't know if I will burn out the same way with Path of Exile, but I can tell you already, the gameplay of PoE is way more solid once I actually got into it and grasped the systems. And honestly, the systems aren't even that hard to grasp. Here's the fucking setup of Path of Exile. Okay, you are dropped into a world. You do quests. You walk around and kill shit. There is like one safe town per act, and then you just walk, and everything outside of that stuff just rises up to kill you. Interestingly, so I think where a lot of people get confused about PoE is number one, the skill tree, and number two, the way that like the game, like the combat even works, like abilities and stuff, and it's not actually that hard to grasp. It's just very unorthodox. So essentially, in Path of Exile, abilities are not like in most MMOs, right? You just like your ability, you just have abilities. You just get abilities based off of what class you're playing, for instance, or what you're building or something like that. And you're just like progressing along a tree and gaining more skills, right? That you put on your hotbar. In Path of Exile, that's not how it works. Every skill is actually, it's a little gem. And gems can be placed into sockets that are on equipment. So every piece of equipment that you pick up has a different amount and color of sockets. And placing so let's say you get the fireball gem, right? You place the fireball into a socket of equipment you have on, right? Now you can use fireball. You can assign that to like a key on your keyboard. And it doesn't have to be on your weapon. I thought it had to be on your weapon. No, you can put a fireball on your shoes for all you care. But as long as it's on you and it's equipped, you'll be able to set and use the skill. So that was a little weird to grasp my head around. There's also the fact that there's 3 different colors of sockets and 3 different colors of gems, and they have to be placed. The gems have to be placed in sockets of the corresponding color. So because of my blue light filter, I spent like a good 2 hours confused as to why I couldn't put one gem in a specific socket, and it was because it was a blue gem and there was a green socket, and I couldn't tell because of the filter. Oopsies. Hey, I do it to myself, you know? It's worth it to prevent myself from getting a headache. Yeah, so there's also another little system where some sockets are linked, and a linked socket means that you can basically have an active skill, and then you could also put a support gem into the one it's connected to, and it'll basically give extra effects to the skill it's linked to. And not all of them are like compatible. It'll give you a list when you mouse over like the support gem of what skills you have equipped right now that it's compatible with. Yeah, and then gems themselves can level up the more that you use them, or no, it's they get like a portion of your XP, basically. Like 10% of the XP you get. Yeah, I think that's the basic rundown of how it works. It's just you get gems to equip to sockets on your gear, and that's how you get to use skills. So you actually you don't like earn abilities or level abilities, or like, you know, level into abilities, really. You just find them. A lot of them are given as rewards. There's like shop there's merchants who will sell gems. Yeah, so like for instance, I decided that I was gonna play the witch because like I thought the spell casting looked cool in this game. So I'm playing the witch. I got my character I got right now, and I decided it would be fun to do a chaos witch. And chaos in this game is like damage over time stuff. And what I really like is I really like drain tanking. I love it when I get to drain tank. When you aren't super tanky yourself in terms of health, but your abilities steal a bunch of life as they do damage. So I love the feeling of having like a million enemies wailing on me and my health bar is just not moving at all. Like, that's really awesome to me. That's really fun. And it also encourages me to play aggressively because if I get kills, for instance, so a lot of my health regain right now in my build comes from killing enemies, like just getting health back on kill. So I'll be like low on life and I'll use one of my, I had this little frost blink ability. You teleport and you do a little explosion of ice damage around you where you land. And it's just a big burst, right? It does a really good amount of damage where I'm at right now. And when I do that, it tends to like kill some of the weaker enemies basically in one shot. So it's just like a quick just burst of healing essentially. It's fun, like encourages me to play aggressively. It's fun to watch enemies' lives just sap away. It's a fun build. Also, that's the other thing is I'll talk about the passive tree in a second. So, for instance, I have the first chaos skill I really got. It's called Blight. It's just like a little damage over time flamethrower. And the longer you channel it, you can hold it down. The longer you channel it, the more damage it does. In simple terms, like the more stacks it will add, the more damage I think they do. The longer the stacks will last. And so I put a support gem on that. I linked it to a support gem because I had it on my, like a wand I was using, which had a linked slot. Put a support gem on it to called Arcane Surge. And Arcane Surge means that when I spend over 15 mana on an ability, it triggers this buff called Arcane Surge. And it basically rapidly increases my mana regeneration and the spell damage I deal for a couple seconds, like 5 seconds or something like that. So I'm triggering that all the time. I basically have 100% mana all the time, just all the time. Just very like easy to conserve. Or I haven't even had to worry about conserving mana. So I've just kind of been playing this build and I guess I should get into the passive tree. So the passive tree is one of the first things that people see, and it freaks them the fuck out. It's gigantic. Go look up a picture of it right now if you haven't seen the Path of Exile passive tree. It is extremely intimidating. Like I forget who it was. There's some like great clip of someone opening up the skill tree, looking at it for the first time, and going, "Nope," and then just closing the game. On stream, and it's yeah. Now I'm not experienced enough with the game to tell you it's not actually that bad or something, or most people will tell you to just follow a build guide. I don't give a fuck about that, so I'm just kind of going where I want right now. So this might be really painful to you PoE heads, but I was like, okay, well, chaos seems fun, so why don't I just head towards the chaos mastery? And then once I got that, I was like, what next? Oh, I want a drain tank. Can I steal life? Yeah, no, there's like a couple different areas on this passive tree that will give you life leech on the damage you deal. I'm like, let me go there. And I got that, and then what am I going for right now? I was going towards just more like getting life back on kill. And right now I'm in life back on kill, evasion, chance, whatever it's called, energy shield stuff, that kind of thing. I forgot exactly where I'm going on the tree, but yeah. And I don't know, it's been making solid. I'm just kind of going wherever I want on the tree and trying to find like a little route around. If you have some kind of an idea, it's super open-ended. If you have some kind of an idea, at least, of like what you kind of want your build to be, I feel like it's not that bad. It hasn't been that bad for me. I've just kind of, it also has a search function, which is very helpful. I just kind of search like the thing that I want to go into next, and I try to find the closest thing that gives me that, or the thing that is like the most like, oh, I can pick up some really useful stuff along the way. Or like stuff that I feel like I'm in need of. So yeah, I honestly have not had that much of a problem with the passive tree. And the game's just really fun. Combat feels good. Once I got enough, like, I was under the misconception that I had to apply gems just to my weapon. No, literally anything. Like I said, literally anything that you're wearing. So I just started collecting little skill gems and then just slapping them into different areas on my my equipment. And I basically ended up with a nice little, like, actual chaos, like, rotation of abilities. So I have Blight, that's kind of like the cornerstone of my damage right now. My basic thing is that I have a little AoE, like, circular AoE poison thing. And then I have, like, this projectile that it does damage and then applies a debuff that deals more damage over time. And the damage over time heals me. And then that, when an enemy dies from it's called Contagion, is the little circular AoE one. When an enemy dies with that, it spreads to nearby enemies. And the debuff, the little life leech debuff, also spreads with it. So that's a little combo. And then I'll basically just do Contagion and then shoot my little life leech thing. And then I'll just press and hold down Blight and just start focusing. And then if I start getting low on health, I'll start using my Frost Blink to move around and just kill little swarms of enemies. Was I using another build? Oh yeah, I recently kind of got one that it's just another AoE that reduces chaos resistance against enemies. So it's like just a little support thing to do even more damages. And yeah, it's good. I'm on the trial. I'm doing some. What's it called? Trial of Ascendancy or something. It's like the first time I've been kind of like having a lot of trouble with a dungeon or something. Most of the dungeons have been pretty, like, I'm getting along. Like, I maybe died once or twice during a boss fight, but it has a pretty forgiving checkpoint system, like right outside the boss room, and you don't even have to restart it. I'm just playing like the standard league. So that's the other thing they have. They have these things called leagues. So there's a core content version of the game, which is just like the standard, like I think they just call it standard. That's like the core content basically. And then they have these things called leagues, and the leagues are like rotating. It's like the same game, all the base content, but then new stuff added on. And they rotate what's the league at. I don't know how often they rotate it. I didn't do that because I don't even want to bother. I don't care enough. Can I transfer to a league if I wanted to? Maybe. I don't know. I have not looked it up yet. I am probably a ways away from endgame. I'm like level 33 or something like that right now. But I'm having a really good time with it. It's a huge time sink. But it's very fun, and number go up. It's got a great gameplay loop. Just run around, going to a thing, clear out all the enemies in an area, pick up the most valuable items, go back to the town, sell them, and then get back on your merry way, doing whatever you were doing. And then you find a new thing, and then you find some item. Oh, it's cool. It's just like, yeah, it's such a simple, just like, I actually, playing it now myself, I can 100% see why Diablo was such a big deal. Because it's like, yeah, this is just really fun. This is just really fun. Yeah. PoE. And it's all free. It's completely free. There's like a cash shop. And there's like a shop button like right in the main menu, like UI, which is like, it's kind of annoying. I don't really care for that, but hey, whatever, the game's free. Fucking, I'll put up with it. And apparently you can't really buy any kind of power in Path of Exile. It's just cosmetic stuff, so alright, It's a free-to-play game. You gotta do what you gotta do. So, yeah, that's my conclusion. I will probably play more of it. I'll probably play more of it tonight. Yeah, I think that's all that I have to say. We're just hitting the 2-hour mark. Thank you for watching. If you've been listening to me ramble, thank you so much. If you have a question, please leave it in the comments below, but please phrase it in the form of a question, or however I say this. Please phrase it in the form of a question, because I'm not just going to read your thoughts out loud. Working on the next video. I think I'm really liking the way this video is shaping up. I'm not going to lie. I think I said I should stop promising stuff to people, but I really like how this one's shaping up. This one's been very interesting. I'm not going to promise a date. That's what I'll do. I won't promise a date. I won't jinx myself, but yeah. Anything else? Yes, yeah, main channel, the Patreon, the Clips channel, started a second channel. Check that out, check everything out. Shout outs to the organizers who did Slashback. Shout out to all the cool people I met. Shout out George Floyd, shout out his family. Goodbye.